Hey guys, we are going to be doing watercolor gems, and this is all that you will need. I have a completed photo, not a photo, but a piece of artwork right here of some gems I did. You'll need a ruler, at least a paintbrush, a pencil, your watercolors, lots of napkins, some water, and some reference photos, okay? I just Googled watercolor gems to get some ideas of shapes. So, what we will be doing is focusing on the shapes of the gem. It doesn't matter what kind of gem you choose, and then creating geometric shapes on the inside. And within each shape that we have, we're going to go from dark to light. You can see how I have dark to light, dark to light, dark to light, kind of varying from corner to corner that way. We're going to be focusing on making those nice and smooth and making our darks pretty dark and our lights pretty white. All right, so I'm going to get a clean page right here. I'm going to have my reference photo. And when you use watercolors, if you sketch underneath your paintings, you need to do it super light because watercolors are very light pigmented. So they're see-through, they're transparent. So whatever you do with pencil, make sure you do it very lightly because it doesn't look very good when you see the pencil lines through your watercolor. So the gems I chose or would like to do, I like these like raw cut ones with the pointy ends and everything like that. So I'm going to use my ruler to create some straight edges along with this. I'm going to kind of go off of this one right up here. Do it pretty light, and I'm just going to eyeball it. They're not equal, they're not even, they're kind of fun. And it goes down. I'm going to make mine at an angle, kind of like that. And then I'm going to go in. So there's not really any rhyme or reason to this. Make my outline shape, kind of like that. Okay, I'm going to stick with this shape. All right, so I got my weird shape on the outside, and now I'm going to start making the shapes on the inside. All right, with these types of gems, you can see how on the inside they poke downwards on the edges right there. So with my pencil and ruler, I am simply going to take these edges and go inwards. All right, so I'm going to go in. Nope, not that much. In. I'm going to make a straight line. And in again. And if this doesn't completely make sense at home, just follow what your gem looks like online, okay? And then I'm going to start connecting my lines. All right, so I got my outline shape of my gem. I got my geometric shapes on the inside. I ended up going off more of my reference photo than my own lines. Just make sure your sections on the inside are not itty bitty because it's a little bit harder to go from dark to light when you are doing a watercolor in little itty bitty shapes, okay? Then you're just going to choose one color. We're going to do a monochromatic color scheme, so lights and darks of just one color. I'm going to choose to do a red color for this one. You do not have to do red if you don't want to. Bring your water to your watercolor lid. And then you're going to wet the color and bring the pigment over to the lid. It's watercolor, so we need to water it down. My napkin so I can use it. Now there's lots of water in your brush right now, so you always kind of want to dab it on the napkin just in case, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and choose a section, and I'm going to start laying down my color. It's actually more of a pretty pink than a red. And then to lighten it up, I'm going to dip in my water. As my watercolor is still wet, I'm just going to bring that out. Just like with acrylic paint, you have to have your watercolor wet for it to blend. Now, a good thing about watercolor, you can reactivate the color by just re-wetting it, kind of like your acrylic paints, but this is more so, this is a little bit more delicate and not as forgiving. I'm going to do a second layer over my dark area and blend that out. And a lot of times with watercolor, it's a waiting game. You got to wait for it to dry so you can add another layer on top of it to make it brighter. Because watercolor is very transparent. So it's just adding layers on layers next to each other, or I mean on top of each other, to make them brighter and stand out more. Okay, so I'm going to let that section dry, and I'm going to move on to another section. I'm going to be kind of like hopping around that way. Now, another thing with watercolor, if you put wet next to wet and they touch, they're going to bleed into each other. Okay, just like when you're painting wet on wet, it's going to blend and bleed. So I don't want this to bleed into anything else, so I'm going to move one over and work on that one. Try your best to stay inside your sections and have a smooth transition from dark to light. You can see as I'm getting lighter, I'm trying to wipe off the pigment on my brush as I'm going. Okay. I'm just going to keep going. Okay, this one's pretty dry. I'm going to add the second layer, clean it off, and spread it and fade it out into the white. Let it dry and probably do a third one. Okay, guys, I am still working on it. I just wanted to show you like my first layer. I have some darker ones that I started to put more layers on to make it brighter and lift off. Some things I need to do is start smoothing out some of the really kind of patchy areas and bringing up the layers and the colors that way, okay? So a few ways that you can do this is to lighten up some areas. You can rework some of the colors. So you want to get your paintbrush wet with clean water, and then you're going to re-wet the area you want to lift off. And let me get a dry piece of napkin. You're going to just wipe and bring it up. I need a little bit more water. I'll lighten this corner a little bit. I'm going to pick up my pigment. Now, the paper will stain some, so you can't get it back to white, but I need to blend that. But you can lift it up some. Okay. With the more layers making different colors brighter, and I'll let that dry so I can fix it. For an example, like this section right here, add another layer. I kind of blend it out to the rest of my colors. And you just keep doing this, smoothing out your areas until it's nice and crisp, just like a gem. Okay? All right, so I'm nearing the end here. I put several layers down where I want my areas darker, and I've tried to clean up my lines. I'm going to go back once it's dry and touch it up, make it a little bit sharper looking. But the main things I want from your gem is that you have your different geometric shapes sectioned out with some dark areas and some light areas going from one color to the same color, but going from dark to light.